Today on the Mid-Year Mitch YouTube channel, I'm going to show you how I took this quarter panel, which was in 4 pieces. It was split in the middle, the end was broken off, and that end was broken off. And I'm going to show you how I joined it together to make a nice strong panel that you could put on a car, but this piece is going to go on my wall. So be sure to stick around.
So we're at the movies, huh?
Yep, we're at the movies. This is the quarter from the 63. So this half from this edge forward is part of the original quarter. This half back was a part that was replaced in probably the 70s. Actually, it was probably before 76 because Frank didn't know this was even replaced. So it probably happened in the early 70s to late 60s. So the car was hit. It has a new taillight panel put on it, and then they put this piece of a quarter on, but they decided to seam it instead of taking the whole rest of the quarter off, which if they did that, this quarter may still be on there if they just replaced the whole thing. We had fixed it before, but the body guy, Dave, didn't like that it was seamed in the middle. He said you'll probably see that, and it wasn't the strongest because it didn't have a bonding strip in the back. So what I mean by that, whenever they did this repair, right along this edge, they took a piece of this quarter panel that would have been over here, and they overlapped it in the back, and that's what these holes were from. They riveted it together. They put some glass on it, and then they put a bunch of mud in it. And the problem with that is it's strong when you put a bonding strip, but you'd be able to feel that in this location. So we didn't like that, so we removed it. And you can see that we had it just joined in the back. So whenever they removed it, they ground out a lot of our repair. That's the original bonding adhesive there. So what I want to do with this is not use it on the car, obviously, but I want to make a wall hanger. I want to make a wall hanger out of this. So for my purposes, I can even leave some of this stuff. I'll just clean it up a little bit. But the big thing is that I need to make it strong. But no one's going to be feeling up the back side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough it up. I have my Harbor Freight grinder over there with 36 on it, 36 grit. So I'm probably going to go to like here into here. I'm going to rough that up, taper it down a little bit, and I'm going to put probably 1 or 2 layers of fiberglass mat on the back, and that'll stiffen it up. So I'll work on the back first, and then I'll flip it over, and then I'll body work the front. I just want to make the back nice and strong. That way then I can do all my work on the front and make it nice. And it had some little cracks in it before that we fixed. And my dad put a lot of time working on these bumper bosses, this one on, and the one on the driver's side of the car that's still on that side. And there's a crack down here. So it just needs body worked, some little sections in here. When they took it off, they broke a piece off the back, put a crack in it there, and this front piece broke off, and I lost the bottom ear. So I may just end up cutting this off and re-glassing that on there. I'm just going to start grinding, and I'll do that outside because we don't want to make a mess in here. I roughed it up enough. I'll probably do this lip down here by hand. I'll do some of these little sections one at a time. So like this one, this back patch, and the one for the front, I'll wait to do those another day. So I'll let this set up, and then I'll fix that, and I'll fix the front. I just want to get this thing in one piece, so I'll clean it up, and now I'm going to get both of these cars out here because this stuff stinks a little bit, and then I'll lay out some plastic and get this thing ready to rock. So I have the quarter panel set up here with some clamps. I used some long stir sticks to kind of contour the panel. If the panel is flat, I could just lay it down on the ground or put some thick boards behind it, and that would keep it in line. But this panel's curved, so I use that stir stick. It kind of holds that contour, and then I set up blocks underneath the quarter panel, and then I have a block underneath the seam to close this gap up, and I just have one clamp here to keep that in line. Like I said, I'll work on that edge later. So whenever this was done originally, this was still attached to the car, so they could hold this up to the bonding strip and they could clamp it or screw it in. I don't want to put extra, I guess you could put screws in it if you wanted to at this point in time, but I don't want to do that. That's just more finish work. And for the purpose of a wall hanger, I don't need to go overboard with this. But like I said, if this was a real car, you can make a bonding strip, screw it together, finish the front, and then you can finish the back later. I'm kind of doing this backwards. So now I'm going to cut up some fiber. First I'm going to clean this off real good with some lacquer thinner, let that dry out real nice, and then I'll cut up a couple layers of fiberglass. I'll put a little bit of extra down here. I'll make a couple small pieces to put in here, and then I'll probably just put two, maybe 3 layers on top of this, let that sit up overnight, then I can unclamp it and start to work on the front side. So now it's time, that's all clean. We have our glass out. The resin doesn't really stick to aluminum foil too well, and it doesn't stick to duct tape. So those are good things to use to help mask your area if you're trying to keep something nice. So I have 2 layers here. I will use a little chipping brush, just a cheap chipping brush, and I'll impregnate the resin with that, and then I have a squeegee. I don't have it out, and I'll probably cover that in duct tape so it doesn't stick to it and ruin it. So now it's time to mix this stuff up. So I've used a few different brands. This is my first time using the brand Bondo. I just got this over to Riley's because the paint store was closed, so I couldn't get the stuff I wanted. But this was like $40, and this should be good enough for what I'm looking for. I'm sure this is a polyester resin and not epoxy, but that's okay because I really don't. I mean, it's got to be strong, but once again, it's a wall hanger, so we're not going all out with that. So I'll read the instructions for how many drops of hardener per ounce of resin. So I'll look that up, and then we'll get the time lapse going. And this stuff's kind of wicked, so I'll use a respirator and gloves and have lacquer thinner around to clean everything else up when we're done. Alright, so I got my layers on, and you can see that it's mostly dried out. I waited about, I'd say half an hour, and I came back out. And so this stuff over here didn't dry, and a little bit over here. Probably just because it runs down that direction. But whenever this stuff dries, normally there's a little bit of a tacky film on top. But it looks good. You can see there's some glass up here that didn't get resin on it, but that's all getting trimmed off. You can see the line for the quarter panel there, and you can feel the heat coming off of this thing, because whenever this stuff dries, it's a nice hot chemical reaction. So we'll let this sit overnight. So you can see the front side of this came out pretty nice. It's just a little bit of a gap at the bottom, but nothing I can't live with. And then the rest filled up nicely in here. So now I'll just go and taper this area out and clean some of this old fiberglass off, clean up this stuff, and then I'll do another little layer in here. That'll finish that area off. Since these two overhang each other, I think I'm going to rough it up a little bit, put some resin on the inside of this and clamp it. And then I'll lay a piece of glass in the back and a piece on the front. And I think this one holds itself in here pretty nice, so I'll just rough up the back and put some glass on the back like I did with that one. So the resin hardened up, and you can see it turned out good. I had some resin seep down this way. So if this was going on a car, what it would have done is taken some duct tape and covered all this stuff down here because it doesn't stick to duct tape. So you could just make a nice cut line here, peel that duct tape off, and you won't have to sand all this back. But since this is going to be a wall hanger, I may clean that up a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'll just clean these edges up. But this set up real nice. And this front one, I just had to kind of work these clamps back out, but this strengthened up pretty nice too. So this worked well. So putting resin between the fibers, clamping it, and then I put 3 pieces of glass and covered the whole thing in resin. So this strengthened up a lot. So this quarter now is back to one piece. So if I was doing this at a body shop and I could do all the sanding and gluing in one place, this would take a lot less time. But so I probably have, I don't know, 4 hours into this, if that, so far, and I already have it in one piece. So this one turned out pretty good. It's even here, it's a little low right in here, but I'll grind this back, fill this in with fiberglass, cut the bottom of this off, and we'll blend that in nice. The top, I'll V this out, and that'll be good. And then this one, it came out actually perfect. So I don't know if you saw in the video, but what I did is I just put duct tape behind this. That's all I did. Just duct tape, and I pushed it in and then held it with duct tape, and it worked perfectly. It's like some areas it's just a little low or a little high, but whenever I go and V this out and put mat in there, you'll never even know what happened here. And this little guy came out good. Once again, this just needs ground out, so now work on cleaning this guy up, and we'll do maybe our last round of glass. So the fiberglass is hard on my patches, and everything turned out good. I have a little bit extra material everywhere, so I have enough to sand off and hopefully get it smooth. So I'll just start off with the DA with 80 grit and start to level these areas off. And then when I get closer, I'll switch to a hand block, and hopefully won't have to do any more glassing, but we may have to do a little bit of Duraglass or filler work to finish this off. So I just finished DAing the panel. I think it turned out really, really good. Down here it's a little bit funky. I think I have a little bit of a low spot here and a little bit of a high spot here, so it makes it feel like it has a wave to it. But that's just because this patch didn't line up 100%. It was tilted up a little bit. So we're working through that. I think a little bit of block sanding and then just a little bit of filler, probably from about here down, and feathering that in. That should feather in real nice. But everywhere else turned out almost perfect. Like right in through here, there's a couple little waves that I can take out with a block, and it's just a little bit high in some areas, but it's really nice. It almost might not even need filler. Like right here is a little bit low, but overall that turned out really, really nice. This guy here just needs a little bit of blocking, and there's just some extra stuff, you know, here and there that needs sanded. So I'll either hand sand or block sand this whole panel to rough it up like it is over here, so primer sticks. Like this area and this area need roughed up. So almost the whole panel is roughed up, just because there were, like, this is an old patch that I never finished, and down here is. So I feathered those in a little more. Those will need hand sanded and then coated with a little bit of filler and Duraglass. And this one turned out almost perfect as well. This will just need just a little bit of block sanding. I couldn't really get in the DA because there's this body line that kind of comes, or a little bit of a curve that comes in through here, and it tapers out and it almost disappears in here. So I just want to work on that area a little bit more. But this turned out nice. So the panel's blocked out. I'm happy with the way it came out. Like, you know, with fiberglass, you just try to get the highs out, and then you just end up filling the lows. So there's just, like I said, a couple lows in here. But this patch came out almost perfect. This one right up in here and a little right in here needs filling. This will need a little bit of blending with filler, and it's a little bit over here. And, you know, you get a lot of little pinholes and stuff. So all that will need filled. So I'll probably just skim coat a lot of this. And they say if you want to get something laser straight, you end up, you know, covering the whole thing. And so I have this patch here, this little bit in here, this down here, and this back here. So, you know, a good majority of the panel will be skim coated and blocked down, and then some in here. But this is as far as I'm going to get this guy. I'll wipe it off, and we'll shoot an outro. But I'm happy with this guy. So I was thinking what I want to do with this is to paint it. I mean, obviously this part was originally red, but I may paint it blue because I don't have a blue car in the fleet, and then do some cool lettering up here that says Mid-Year Mitch, and just hang it on the wall. So that way it's just a little bit of signage with my name on it, and keep part of the, you know, the original split window still intact. So that'll be cool. Really, I don't have a whole lot of money in this panel because they had the panel. I had the fiberglass mat. I spent $40 for the resin, and with that, you know, I probably have less than $100 of material in this whole thing. And then by the time it's painted, you know, I'll have a little bit extra in it. But this is a nice little project to practice fiberglass work, and it'll be nice to have a wall hanger to put over there. A nice decoration, because there was nothing wrong with this panel other than the fact it was seamed here, and I really didn't like seeing it sitting at the body shop in the corner, and the junk pile, you know, broke it into a bunch of pieces because we had a bunch of time in this panel before. So it was kind of a waste to have it sit there. But you can see in less than 12 hours, this panel is already back almost 100%. So, you know, like that last 10% takes the longest, but it's getting pretty close. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to have a follow-up video on this where we do a little bit of Bondo work on it, and we'll use some filler primer. We'll get it painted, and then I'll probably do, I don't know if I'm going to get vinyl stickers for it or if I'm going to stencil it and paint it, but then I'll do a second video, or third video rather, on putting the letters on it. It's not going to be this font. I'll probably do something like 60s racing style, like the drag cars. So those videos will be coming out, and those will be later on down the road. And I'm probably going to do a little video series on working on my buddy Greg's 60 Corvette frame. He may be bringing that up here. So that may be coming for a winter project. But like I said, if you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. be sure to subscribe. And I got a frame coming, so I got a lot of work to do on that. I'll catch you guys later.